I've been part of the Beecher Falls division of Ethan Allen, mill worker there for 26 years. We've lived in the area for about 16 years. A good portion of those years we lived in a mobile home. Our family was outgrowing the mobile home, quite honestly, and we knew that we had to consider something else as a matter of necessity. The day of the closing, we arrived at the housing program office. They presented the closing papers to us, and it wasn't the mortgage payment that we agreed to, and it was not the interest rate that we agreed to. It was it was just way out of what we could afford.
I felt like the floor had been pulled out from underneath us. I didn't know where we were going to turn. I didn't know what we were going to do. Our old home was gone. We have 4 children with us living at my mother's house, and we couldn't move in until we signed the final papers. So we turned to Nancy at the Home Ownership Center, and she said, "You need a lawyer." So we were contacted by a lawyer whose name was Lisa, and she said, "Okay, let's just start from the beginning."
Lisa provided a lot of enthusiasm and vision and hope at a time where things looked really grim and hopeless. You know, she was the encouragement that we really needed.
I remember my youngest son came up to me and hugged me, and he said, "I knew, Mom, it was going to work out in the end." We had just fought the fight of a lifetime, and it was finally over.
I was working late one night, and I came home. My kids were sleeping, and I walked up the stairs and opened the door and noticed that there was things broken and destroyed, some of my possessions, videos, all kinds of things just pretty much everywhere. Suddenly I just saw my husband. He was just screaming numerous things at me and pretty much just attacked me as soon as I walked in the door. I found my way out of the house, and luckily there was police there, and they immediately took him away, and I went down and filed a temporary order. My landlady had arranged to meet with me on a Saturday to, discuss the apartment. She said this isn't going to work. She sent me an eviction letter a couple days later. I felt like my whole world and my children's world was just going down, and what were we going to do? About a week or so later, we went to court to establish a temporary order against my husband so that he could not return, and I was represented by a legal aid lawyer there, and I mentioned to him that my landlady was evicting me and that she had sent me a notice. He said that didn't seem right and that he would talk to another attorney for Vermont Legal Aid. A few days after that, I got a call from Maris from Legal Aid, and she was there to begin the process of saving my day and turning everything around for me and letting me know that I actually had rights and that what she was doing was wrong. Getting out of that situation definitely made me stronger, and from there I managed to take my career to all new places. I can't even imagine if legal aid wasn't there, what kind of downward spiral my life could have continued to go in. I don't even want to think about that because it's gone in such a good direction since that time.
Hi, my name's Sylvia Peltier, and I live here in St. Albans, and I write and illustrate children's books. And I've been sick for 35 years with rheumatoid arthritis. It started when I was 18. Over the years, I got worse and worse. About a year and a half ago, my head started going to the side like this. My teeth have fallen out over the years because of all the medication I've had, and I had to have all the back ones out. With the neck in this situation, I had to try to get some teeth because I kept choking on my food, and it was really awful. So I didn't know what to do, and someone told me about legal aid. So I called legal aid, and I went up to see a Bessie Weiss. Immediately, she said, told me not to worry anymore because she was going to fight for this and she was going to get it for me. And the next thing I knew, she called up and said, it's passed and you're going to get your money to pay for those dentures. And I was thrilled about it, of course, because, I wouldn't feel so afraid when I was eating as I had been. And maybe I could even have a steak again.
So my parents, Janet and Bill Page, live here in Westmore, Vermont, in the Northeast Kingdom. Last year, they were inadvertently signed up through AARP, the Medicare Part D prescription drug program. My parents were sent a form letter informing them that not only were they being dropped from their existing coverage for prescription medications, but that they were bundled with their other medical coverage and they would be dropped from that as well. We wrote letters to Medicare Part D. I tried calling Medicare Part D to try to get to the bottom of this and to talk to a supervisor. I sent the fax out. It was like it was going into a void. No one could tell me at what date I would get any response. Finally, I got the number from my brother Nick from someone in his chorus for the Vermont Healthcare Ombudsman. Called up a woman named Jenny Prosser, and literally 1 week later, the problem was solved. She instantly, jumped into gear, said, I think I have a solution. There was a flurry of faxes, phone calls. She just took care of it. And 1 week later, the problem was completely solved. My parents were fully protected on their current healthcare provider. Medicare Part D just went away, and it was as if the whole thing had never happened.
I'm Alan Homans. I'm a pediatric oncologist, which means I take care of children who have cancer. I think what people don't really realize is that when you take care of a child with cancer, you're taking care of a whole family of a child with cancer. The strain is not just on the child, it's on the family, it's on their emotional resources. In many ways, it's on the whole community. One particular family comes to mind, a great little kid who was successfully treated for a common type of childhood leukemia. Unfortunately, the leukemia came back after he was off therapy. His, not to be dramatic, but his only hope of survival is to have a bone marrow transplantation. With that type of treatment, he has a reasonably good chance of survival. Without it, his chance of survival really is essentially zero. We were having a harder and harder time getting these treatments covered. There was this whole pattern of denials, appeals, denials of the appeals, appeals of the denials that went on and on and on and on and on. We have full-time people whose only job is essentially to do battle with the insurance companies. Despite this, we were not succeeding, or if we were succeeding, it was requiring far more of our effort than was really reasonable to get these services provided for. After a while, our social worker, Penny, had contacted Barb at Legal Aid. She was able to step in, help us with the appeals, help them put them in a context, really, that the insurance companies, I think, understood a little better, and she was successful. They now know what they should be providing. They are more willing to provide it. They understand that we're not trying to get something exotic for these children. This is basic life-saving care to help these families get through this terrible time. So we've been very appreciative of their efforts on the behalf of these patients so we can get back really to caring for families and their diseases. I didn't go into this job because I wanted to fight with insurance companies. I went into this job to help families.
My name is Delbert Jones, and I live at 59 C Avenue in Burlington, and my age is 80 years young. 4 years ago, I applied for fuel assistance, and come back, I was denied. I had no fuel and didn't have the money to buy any, so I sat in my chair in the front room, and I dressed up with the heavy clothes, and one day, my nose started burning, and I looked in the mirror, and it was white. So then the following day, I went to a doctor, and he told me it was frozen. So then I got to inquire more how the system worked. And I called Mary McGinnis, and she's at LawLine. She tried to send me down the right road. So I won, and I got fuel assistance. And you know, up until this day, I have never had no more trouble with fuel assistance.